Welcome to the UKOCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UKOCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Welcome, listener. And have we got a bit of a special one today? So we're not having a bit of an interview. We're having a bit of a nostalgia. We're going to go back in time and then come forward again to the modern day. But we have got three guests on with me. So we'll say out to them. Wendy, greetings.
Good evening.
Good to have you back on the podcast and chatting to us again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Paul Ellis, long time friend, I'm going to say. Long time. Can I class you as a friend now? I think I can. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
let's go with it.
Let's just go with it. He doesn't really like me listening, but he does, I think. And
No,
Matt, welcome back.
I like you, really.
Thanks, Paul. I know you do. And Matt, welcome as well. How are you?
Evening all. Stuck at work, but evening all.
Yeah, we keep that quiet. We're not tell everyone where you work either. We're not put this out on video so everyone can see the name badge on your shirt. We don't want people.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for coming. I wanted to put this together, I guess, because I got very emotional the other day when I was looking back at my medals, and I was like, gosh, I've got medals back there from events that have never happened before, and I'm thinking, what's actually happened since 2012? When UKOCR started. And I know, Paul, I mean, you've been around since then. What was the first event you did and when was that?
First event I did was ex-runner, one at Donington Park, which I think was 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Cool. I thought you'd been around much longer than that, if I'm honest, because I seem to see you. I think that was probably the height of it, and I saw you at every event back in that time.
Yeah, I did go to an event before, I think the year before. It was another ex-runner event. It was one up in Derby where they had the big river swim. I went up to watch that and I was like, oh, this looks fun.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was is it like a Go 8 park or something like that? Or something like...
Yeah, it was something weird like that. It was, I don't know, it was a bit sketchy. I mean, that river was quite fast flowing and they had a good slide into that river. And I was like, ooh, I think, I could have a go at that. And then they were doing one at the gym I was at the time. So I got collared into it. And yeah, middle of summer, when you're watching them jump in the river on a hot day, that looks fun. Running around Donington Park on a freezing January morning, not so much, but I stuck with it.
And when you got into it, what was your aim? Was it just for the fun element? You'd seen the fun and you thought, yeah, I'm just going to jump into this, or was it more the challenge? What was it that made you do it?
Medals.
Exactly. That's one of the best reasons ever. Give me the medal. Give me the bling.
That was all I wanted. That's all I cared about. I saw the medal at the end. I was like, oh, I want one of them.
Are you one of these guys that goes to work on a Monday morning with the medal around your neck?
Oh, hell yeah. I'd never take them off.
Never take
an OCR version of Mr. T.
And Matt, you started just a few years earlier than Paul. 2014, did we say offline earlier?
Yeah, so I randomly decided to do a Tough Mudder. It appeared up on Facebook for some reason. I thought, give that a go. I was completely unprepared for it. And then halfway around, I did a ligament in my knee, and that put me off for another year. I didn't do it on anything other than Tough Mudder for another year.
Was you aware when you found Tough Mudder back then that there were other OCRs around, or was it just you just heard of Tough Mudder?
Just heard of Tough Mudder. I looked at the website. It looks a lot of fun. I thought, I'll give it a go. Dragged the mate in, injured myself, and then that was sort of going to be a one and done thing for us. And a year later, I thought, yeah, my knee sounds, feels really right. Go for it again. It wasn't. So I gave it another year to try and rest my knee, but I kept going back, do one event a year to see how it went, and eventually it led into it's snowballed into other stuff. It took a while to get that far.
Yeah. We're pretty far down the line now, and I mean, you're there quite a lot of them. So, Wendy, what about you? Because you're probably the newest on the call today, as in terms of finding OCR and going down that road? I know we've chatted and you've mentioned it on a podcast, but just to remind our listeners on this episode.
So May 2017, Nuclear Rush, group of friends from the gym, 7 of us went. A few of us went back for Blast, and less of us went back for Fallout. And the following year, we went to Judgment Day, and everybody else in my group was running competitive, so they didn't want to hang around waiting for me to run open. So therefore, I had to run competitive, and that's where it all started. So 2018 onwards, I've just done everything I can.
Going back to, I'm going to stay with you for a second, Wendy, because going back to when you went down to Nuclear, there was another would-be national governing body around at that point.
Yes, there was.
As in OCRA or OCRA.
Yes.
Were you aware of them at that time?
I think I became aware of them probably not when I did the fun runs in 2017. I was aware of something 2018. I think there was a league at that point, and it then I kind of filled in all the things for the forms, and it's kind of disappeared. So I presume that was Mudstickle. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that would have been the original Mudstickle League.
Yeah.
I think it started about 2014, 2015, went through to right up to COVID, I believe. I think it was still going pre-COVID. Paul, can you confirm that? You will have known about the Mudstickle League when that was going right up until 2020, 2021?
Yeah, I think it might have just been kind of died. I think it was COVID that finally killed it off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously Pete Rees left. He went over to Rat Race, didn't he, to videographer and stuff.
He did, yeah.
And then was it Doug the Beard took over for a bit, and it passed hands, and it was sort of dead, wasn't it? And then it kind of sprung back for a bit, and then I think COVID finally killed it off.
Yeah, I think that was in. Was you a Muddy Race fan, a Mudstickle fan, a Obstacle Racing Magazine fan? What was you? Because we all back then, you was around when there was all around, and we went to King of the Hill, which we might come across in a bit, but King of the Hill we went to, which was run by Kev and Carl, and they did Obstacle Race Magazine. We had Rob Folks at Muddy Race, and then we had Pete at Mudstickle.
Yeah, I remember, like I say, I remember Mudstickle, the old yellow shirted wankers. Yeah, they were all a bit. I don't know. I was never in that. I never bought a t-shirt. Never really joined it. Just I went on the website, I had a look, watched a few things on Facebook. They were the precursor to what the elites we are now, haven't they? They were all actual runners. David Hellard and whatnot, Claire Miller.
I think you're right. I think they were one of the very first actual teams, weren't they? If we went back,
yeah. So
before we actually had, I guess, elite runners, we had the yellow of Mudstickle and we had the green of Muddy Race, and that was they were the first two that was out there. They were, when I started back in 2011, they were out there. They were the two things you followed, and I followed both of them. I paid subs to both of them. I joined Mudstickle because I got the free insurance. I did, yeah. I was there. I'm a marketing dream. I tell everyone this, yeah.
I know.
And I did. I subscribed to both, and when Obstacle Racing Magazine came across, I subscribed to that as well. And I joined them all. But you're right. I think we had the first ever team was done by John Alban, and I can't remember the two names, but it was basically Team Dry Robe, or was it Team Cliff? And they were sponsored by Dry Robe, Kit Bricks, and someone else.
Cliff Bars. It was Cliff Bars, weren't there?
Yeah.
And Shot Blocks or whatever they were. Cliff Shot Blocks or.
That was it. Yeah, that was that team. And then, was it? There was another team pre-Mudstickle, which belonged to down in Hastings, RPPC, Richard Pringle Conditioning.
Yes, I remember that.
Do you remember that, Wendy? Because you're down south. You've never seen Richard Pringle Conditioning? No. They had big RPPC on the shirts, and there was quite a big crowd.
No,
Matt, where are you based?
So I'm
Hertfordshire.
Sorry.
Right. Go on. Sorry, Wendy.
No, I didn't see any of those. No, they were probably before I was involved, but maybe not.
I think they were coming close to an end as you started to get involved.
And probably the first year I didn't do as much.
Right, right. They were heavily involved. I don't know about our Hertfordshire, Matt, but they went to Nuts. They did all the Spartans. Not so much Tough Mudder. They did, but they did Nuclear. I know they went to Nuclear quite a lot. So yeah, and I guess they were probably the original ones. Did you, Matt, when you got into it, did you know about Mudstickle or anything like that? Was that anything that you got involved with?
No, the first time I learned about Mudstickle was when Europe's Toughest Mudder come about in 2017. I was just searching on YouTube for anyone who was posting videos, and there was a Mudstickle YouTube channel who covered the event. So that's the first time I come across them.
They were really, really good for people who just started OCR. I think I learned to climb a rope by watching one of their videos back in 2011. And my first ever Spartan, I don't think I knew how to climb a rope from at school. I didn't know what these J hooks were or anything like that, which was, did you use anything like that, Paul, when you was starting back then?
Yeah, I remember, like I said, watching the videos and going, nah, that's not going to happen. But like you say, they were, like you say, they were a different bunch. I remember, they say all the original Mudstickle ones were all just runners, weren't they?
Yeah.
I remember. Do you remember before SAS Who Dares Wins? There was that SAS Hell Week.
Yes, and that's
If
what
you don't
Helen
Google
went on.
Yeah, Hellard. I think it was Lucy Martlow, Claire Miller.
Yeah.
Danny Bent.
Yeah.
And all that. And they were it was pretty much Mudstickle that was on that. And there was quite a few OCR guys from back in the day.
Yeah.
Just absolutely vanished. I mean, that's a retro OCR one. Watch that and find that on YouTube and watch the first episode of that.
Yeah.
I remember pretty sure the first guy in the shot before they dressed them all up was guys wearing Spartan t-shirts and they filmed it.
Didn't they have different elite army squadrons coming in for each day? They did a day with each one or something like that.
Yeah, so I think they started off with, I think was it Navy SEALs or something, and then they'd have like Jordanian special forces and Filipino special forces, and
every 2 days I think they swapped.
That was good. That do you think because we don't get anything like that on TV now that it's affecting our sport a little bit? Because now, I mean, we've got Gladiators has come back, but when I look out there is nothing on TV that's saying how tough we are as a human race. The closest we probably get is the Survivor Series, which is set over in some really nice sunny island, and they're enjoying themselves playing games.
I thought that was WWE. But yeah, it does, because like they say, I think they kind of killed it a bit, didn't they? They had, like, say, that Hell Week. I think they did a series 2 of it, which was crap. Nobody bothered watching it. And then they moved on to, look, you had SAS Who Dares Win, but they weren't, like, say, runners, OCR people. It was more gym people. So generally, there was no like you said, there was no people like us that OCR athletes or runners and stuff like that. It was more people who were just generally really fit. Fell runners and things like that.
Wendy will probably know this, but didn't Shyla go on Who Dares Wins, and then
she was on the yes, she was, yeah.
Yeah, and then she found OCR after going on Who Dares Wins.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she did, because I spoke to her the week, and I know I looked at her Instagram and noticed that she'd been on there.
So the first time I met her, she said she'd been on SAS, and I thought she'd been in the special forces, which would explain her fitness. So yeah, there was a misunderstanding there. I hadn't heard of the program.
Very much so.
I don't watch a lot of television, so I hadn't actually ever heard of that one.
I've never watched that. Well, I've never watched that one. I watched the Hell Week, because didn't Claire Reese actually, or Claire Miller at the time, win Hell Week?
Yeah, she won. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that was some feat. And who was the other guy that was in OCR who had the tattoos as well that was on it?
Oh, no,
and everyone's looking blank. I'm going to Google this now. I've actually got him on my friends list. How strange is that? I've got someone on my friends list and I can't remember what his name is. Keep yourself entertained. Talk between yourselves while I try and find who this is.
I'm doing the same thing. Google. Go on, Wendy. Keep us entertained. Tell us an interesting fact.
So J-Locks, I used to teach ninja, and random fact, Erica Paul came to have a go at the ninja course and taught me how to J-Lock, and I've used that for so many other people since. I wouldn't even like to think how many I've taught since. It's a very useful skill.
Oh, yeah. Alex. His name was Alex. And I'm no longer on his friends list. So he's no longer on my friends list. But he must have removed me as a friend. But his name was Alex. Yeah. He's unfriended me somewhere. I can't find his name. When we go back, I'll come to you first, Matt. When you go back and look at OCR, when you found out about OCR, who were the top athletes when you realised that it was actually a sport?
So it was the typical John Alban,
Yeah,
Ryan Atkins, even sort of Hunter McIntyre and his small approach to OCR. But they were the guys I was looking up to when I first got into the sport.
And when did you realise about these guys? Was this, which wasn't 2014, obviously, because we were talking about.
No, so when I did, I was searching for Europe's Toughest Mudder stuff in 2017, and I come across Mudcall,
Yeah,
their YouTube channel, found OCRWC on their channel as well. So that's how I come across OCRWC. That's how I come across Jonathan Alban and all that good stuff.
cool. What about you, Wendy?
So I mean, I wasn't as aware of the international, so it was John Alban, Ryan Atkins, Lindsay Webster, Nicole. I can never remember her surname. Miracle.
Yeah,
That's it. That I can't pronounce it properly. So much more the people around me rather than no. Elites were so far above that I didn't really take so much interest. More sort of looking at the people around that I was actually meeting at races rather than aspiring to. No, the elites were a different level.
Definitely. I guess when I started, John Alban he was just coming on the scene, but there was many other people in there. Alex Money, if I remember rightly. There's David Ellard, Sam Cherry, Connor Hancock. And then later on, 2017, 2016, I mean, the guy who I looked up to most appeared on the scene. Paul winning the Cakeathon. You know, you're my hero for winning that, mate.
Sometimes heroes are just born. Just can't help it. I mean, I can't. Just can't help it. I'm modest. I try to be modest about it, but yeah,
When
I am what I am.
You are what you are. Did you? I mean, you could have gone down on the day you won it. You could have gone down to the British Champs and won the British Champs, but it wasn't the same as the win of the Cakeathon.
Well, to be fair, I didn't want to show that lot up. I know they all had a few issues on the day. They couldn't get over that rig. How would they feel if I'd have turned up munching a muffin and did that rig one-handed? They'd have all quit OCR instantly, and there'd have been no more British championships. Oh God.
There wasn't any more British Championships.
Oh dear me!
It's back again now.
Yes, it's back again. Yeah. We lost it for a while then, which is quite strange. We'll come to that in a second, actually. But who was you looking up to, by the way, Paul? When you won yours and you started yours, was you aware of the elites at the time?
No, because let's be honest, they'd all finished and gone home before I even got out of bed. I think I'm the guy. Look, like I say, that one, King of the Hill. I turned up 3 minutes before it started. I turned up. I got out of the car, walked to the start line, and started the race. I was still getting dressed as you were counting the runners down.
It was a good race. That, I mean, for people who don't know about it, it came about. It was just Daventry. I think it was Daventry, and
yeah, it was down that way.
Yeah. I think the race was originally called Mud, Sweat and Beers when I first did it. And then the two guys that owned it had a little bit of a disagreement. One decided to quit altogether and it disbanded. And then the other one took on Muddy Furlong, created Muddy Furlong. and then Carl and Kevin went down to help, and they created King of the Hill on the same venue. It just seemed to be back then, when I look back at those years at its peak, we had so many events going off. You know, every weekend I seem to be doing an event, you know, and a lot have gone under. Matt, have you done any events that are no longer around?
One, yes, it was local to me, so it's literally 15 minutes down the road. So I was quite happy. They had 2 events on the year, so I even volunteered, run it with a few friends from work, and COVID hit, and they just went under. They did a runner.
Oh no, which one's that?
Warrior Adrenaline Rush.
Oh right.
So going back to your podcast, yesterday actually, it was born from Regiment Fitness, Park Fitness, decided to throw an OCR. Quite well put together actually. It was just a shame that obviously COVID hit, and then they put out some random post on Facebook saying you weren't going to get your money back, but you can rebook next year, and they've gone.
Oh,
it's completely gone.
So that was very much along the lines of COVID hit them, affected them, and then they vanished off the.
It just literally vanished. But now the venue that they use it in has been used by Muddy Mayhem, who are a charity mud run,
right?
And they've been going for a few years now. So I do that one instead.
Cool. As long as so it's survived, but survived in a different form through a different company.
Yeah, somebody else has taken over the venue, but this charity it's been around the local area, but they've decided to take over the venue that Warrior Drilling used.
Right.
No, it was a shame because it was good. They had 5, 10, and 20k options. It was a good event. It's just a shame that the owners decided to up and run.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, it's Erica Poole. As some of you may know, in October of 2022, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in the last year, I've gone through chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and 2 surgeries. And to be honest, OCR training and running is what's gotten me through the toughest of times. Right after my diagnosis, I decided I was going to set myself a challenge. And I decided I was going to run the London Marathon, which is happening in 8 weeks' time. I'm running for breast cancer now. And so to fundraise, I am running the Big Pink Raffle. It's an amazing raffle full of obstacle and running related prizes that some of the biggest names in our industry have been super kind to send through. I want to tell you a little bit about them, get you excited and get you willing to donate and to win some great prizes in the raffle. From the obstacle training grounds, we've got Scotty at the PT Barn, who's offered a 1-to-1 training session. Dave at Rumble has offered a £40 vouchers. And Wild Forest and Obstacle Training Ground have both offered pay-and-play sessions for a family, which is amazing. We've got Voom Nutrition and Enduro offering some of their energy aids. We have Ethos Cafe and Cafe Nero offering food and drinks. We've got, if you're into rock climbing, Romford Rock and Boulder, Indie Rock and Colchester Climbing Project offering climbing sessions. We've got Ninja Warrior offering a session. We've got an hour-long sports massage at Chelmsford Sports Injury Clinic. We've got a £25 gift certificate for Huel. We've got £50 at Bimble and Bolt, which makes incredible leggings and socks. And I think my favorite from Kitbricks, we have a bright pink Kitbricks, which I think is just incredible. And we still have more prizes that I can't even announce yet because they're still coming. So there's definitely lots of great things to win. Suggested donation is £5 per entry. The raffle is going to be drawn on the 3rd of March. I'm going to live stream it on my Instagram, which is Pocket Ninja OCR. If you want to donate, the link is on my Instagram account, but also I've made a tiny URL, which hopefully will get you straight there. You just need to put into your browser tinyurl.com/Erica's Marathon. And that's Erica, ERIKAS, Marathon. And that should take you directly to my official TCS London Marathon donation page. So hopefully you'll come and support the Big Pink Raffle. It is an amazing amount of prizes and not all of them have been announced just yet. So please come and sign up, donate some money to a great cause very, very close to my heart and hopefully win some great prizes. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Oh, it's not great when they do. And I guess we're going to talk about this now, about some of them going under. Did they never put out the reason why they just did a runner?
No, just a weird Facebook post saying you weren't going to get your money back, but you could rebook next year.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then it just went silent from there.
Yeah.
Not heard from him since.
Yeah.
There's been a few that I've done that aren't here any longer, but fortunately they've all been much. No, they've said a year in advance that they're not going to be doing it next year. So, Rocket Race, used to love that and endorse it. Splash Quack Go in Woodbridge in Suffolk, Judgment Day, Magnificent Seven. The one's coming back, Mud Monsters. So that's coming back. That was just missing for a while. But fortunately, with all of those, they just said, we're not coming. This is the last one. We're not coming back. So there wasn't any issues with money going missing.
There's a right and wrong way of doing it, isn't there? You know, at the end of the day, I do believe that not having as many events has impacted OCR because it's not as much in people talking about it, and there's not as many going off. And I do believe that the ones like Matt just mentioned there that did the run, and there's a few that have caught us out, and I guess me and Paul can talk a little bit about them because we've been caught by probably more than most. But the right way is like David Bird did at Rocket Race. You know, this is our last event. This is how it's going to be. You know, let's go out with a bang. Thank you very much, everyone. Well done. And very recently, some of the others have gone. I mean, some of them have gone under. Who did it wrong are quite out there. I mean, Paul, me and you've done a lot of races in the Midlands that are no longer here. Ram Run, for instance, you know.
Oh, yeah.
One of our favourites, without a doubt. Probably the most, I want to say, fun characters who ran it in Ian Exeter. What an amazing character who ran the event. And for one reason or another, you know, HS2 and then the fallout with Cliff Lakes, you know, whatever happened, he left. He didn't leave under a dark cloud, which is good. He left, you know, with his head held high. He'd paid all his dues to everyone, put his race on. There was no one that I know were owed money. Maybe I'm wrong. People can come and tell me different.
I've heard rumours, but I've never heard anyone actually come out and say, yeah, he did me over a treat.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think they put the races on. I think there was a few people owed a hoodie or something like that from volunteering.
Yeah. I've heard there was a few little bits like that, but no one who was owed, you know.
There was no like, you know, I've sold 500 tickets and see you later. Come and find me on the beach.
In the case of the biggest one, which I think a lot of us got caught out, was when Tough Guy went under. You know, for me, that was probably the biggest event that it our sport that went under, and Paul showing a bit of his brass now. You know, the last ever event, we all went to that, and then following year he started it again, and we all got signed up, and then, you know, COVID hit. You know,
he managed two after the last ever event, didn't he? He had the one that wasn't officially Tough Guy, which was actually all over done on YouTube, if you remember.
Yes, it was.
That was actually quite good. I remember I didn't run that one. I ran the last ever, and I was like, after that. It was not a great event, the last ever Tough Guy, was it?
It was shortened down, and
it was oversold, carnage, everything went wrong. But yeah, and then everyone was like, oh, never again. Then they had the one that wasn't Tough Guy, that was Tough Guy, which was actually looked really good. They televised it. They had people on the obstacles, you know, in the killing zone with cameras. It was live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. It looked like really good. It looked like really up the game. Then they had the last ever one. Well, the one that wasn't actually the last ever one, the War to End All Tortoises or whatever stupid gibberish he came out
David
with.
Bowie Memorial Race.
Yeah. They've got a load of old T-shirts. Let's sell it. And then it just, like you say, COVID come along. Whereas they changed the date, didn't they? Because it was always, what was it, January the 33rd or whatever.
It was always was it last week in January?
Last weekend in January, yeah, because it always fell around about my birthday, and then, like you say, they moved it to March, didn't they, with the excuse that it would be better, better weather, colder, meaner, blah blah blah, and then suddenly, did you take up the offer of a discounted funeral plot? Sorry.
I don't think I fell for that bit of marketing. I think that was probably one of the very few bits of marketing I did actually fell for. But I know I paid for extra front row seats, if you like. I think, you know, to be on the hill, which at the last ever one, I paid to be on the hill because he sold them in different sections. Into there was like the front squad, the hill squad, and then there was everything else. And you've got to have done so many races before you got the front or the hill squad. So I remember I paid for
10 races or
something like that, yeah. And I paid for it, but then all of a sudden they didn't have the gates which they'd had before, so everyone was just on the hill. And then the following year, I thought, well, I'll pay for it again. I think it was only about an extra 30 quid, so I did. But then, yeah, there wasn't. The next one didn't happen for me. He ran off. They ran off with everyone's money, which was a big one. I mean, prior to that, what else did we lose? We lose Suffering.
Yeah, I got done
Zeus.
by that.
Zeus, I liked.
Yeah, Zeus went. Yeah, well, was that pre-COVID? Was that pre-COVID?
It was just the last one was October 2019, and then COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
But the October one was the one that the weather was absolutely atrocious. It was torrential rain, blowing, full gale. They couldn't have any of the marquees up or the tents up. It was absolutely atrocious.
I remember because that was Zeus was probably only about 4 miles away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going up there to helping a friend trying to put a tent up, camping, bearing in mind it was on the top of a hill as well. And I think about 20 of us battled. We got this tent up. We all stood there going, "Well done, job well done," and just watched it just blow away.
Yeah,
shredded.
And cars got stuck. Now I remember about 6 people pushing me out, of the car park because obviously the car park was just a complete quagmire.
And then they moved. They had an issue with the landowners there, and they moved up to Grantham Way, where there was another race up there as well. They kind of twinned with another race, and I think Gavin had already called time on it then before COVID kicked in.
Rough Events they teamed up with, weren't it?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, he teamed up because Mark had already stepped away from it and left Gavin to it, and I think Gavin tried to take it down a bit more of a competitive way.
Yes, because it was a
qualifier. Yeah, which didn't. A lot of people I know, it didn't kind of fit well with them. They were like, "Well, Zeus is a fun race." Yeah, it was never a race that was ever taken seriously. And then we tried to take it in a different path, and then for whatever reason, he decided to stop as well. He'd moved to a new location. I don't know whether it didn't work for him. Like I said, they passed over to rough events to put in a co-event in there.
Didn't they go?
They were going to do
rough events because didn't someone burn all their obstacles or something like that, or steal a lot of their obstacles on site?
The landowner, I believe. I know they had a lot of stuff pinched because I think they was paying to store a lot of stuff in a container on site, and that got robbed.
Yeah,
broken into and stolen. And then I think they had an issue with the owner. Bearing in mind, it's a motocross arena, like park. Yeah. And the owner was complaining about the amount of mud that the runners were churning up. Don't quote me. I think, I think what he said was, I think literally he doubled the price of the rent or something the day before the event.
Wow.
Or something as the story I was told. Don't quote me on that.
What was you doing around about that era, Matt? 2018, 2019?
I was still trying to find my way. So that's when I branched into the local one, Warrior Adrenaline. And obviously you found out about OCRWC. So did the OCRWC Journeyman and then dipped my toe into Europe's Toughest Mudder. So I was building up the confidence to do more. So, and as time's gone by, I've gone from like average 2-3 events a year to now 15 events a year. So my confidence has gone right through, and I'm trying to look for anyone I can do now. But around about that time, I was purely Tough Mudder, and I did a little bit of OCRWC purely because it was in England. That's the only reason why I did it. Yeah. Once in the lifetime opportunity, I thought I'll get on that. But other than that, I was purely just doing Tough Mudders.
Yeah. So you was you aware of these events at the time going under, or were you? You was aware. I was aware of them all,
and so I got speaking to a lot of people at OCRWC who were nuclear races. Obviously, that's I'd heard about nuclear races and all these other ones, like all the other events, like all the ones you just discussed. I've heard them all talking to other people. I thought, okay, there's something I'd like to try out in the future. Sadly, it's never come about.
Yeah. How much do you think UKOCR affected us, Wendy? Because now you're on British Obstacle Sports as. Are you on the panel or the board? Which one can I say?
I'm not on either. I'm the chair of the community committee.
Okay, so you're up there, and you know what's happening. You're going down the
I'm
community
not on the
side of
board.
things.
No.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, not on the board.
Yeah.
How much do you think back then, when you look back then, and you was aware of Okra and what they did when they vanished, and accordingly, rumour has it ran off with 40,000 pounds of people's money. Whether that's fact or not, I don't know. I'm only saying what the rumour is there.
You got to say allegedly at the end of it.
Sorry, allegedly. Yeah, allegedly.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. How much do you think that affected OCR at that time, and then led when British Obstacle Sports founded? Did you think it impacted them?
I think it did impact British Obstacle Sports because there was a lot of residual concern about a governing body. So I think it's been quite difficult. And in my view, and it is a personal view, British Obstacle Sports has worked really, really hard to be very transparent and open, and tried to share things so that it's quite sort of open, that tried to be more correct than perhaps it would have been if that wasn't the case. It's trying to prove that this is not how it's going in the future. There's also quite a lot of checks in place to make sure that can't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, now this is done professional. You know, I know British Obstacle Sports is done 100% professional. I guess back then we were very naive.
Yes.
Did you get sucked in, Paul, by it?
To be honest, I had no idea what it was at the time. I remember my first experience of it because I remember they had the AGM where it was all kicking off. I think they held it down at Cliff Lakes because I remember Gavin Levitt. I remember watching it because that was YouTube or Facebook. Somebody was streaming it live.
That was us.
Yeah, it was you guys. I just remember watching it, thinking, "Oh, I keep a bit of drama here. Let's have some of this." Because I remember Gavin was there because it was at the time where, if you remember, Gavin, David Baird, and Matt Evans were going to put on a championship race.
Yeah, and it was the one you're talking about was actually after the Nords had vanished. So you know they'd gone back to South Africa, and they left Mr. Linster in charge. So basically, Mr. Linster was like the third person, and he'd have nothing to do with any funds or any monetary whatever. But they left it. They ran up. They disappeared, and he was the one that was left, I guess, holding the can, the spade, whatever you want to call it, because it ended up being the spade where they were digging themselves deeper. But he was left holding it, and they went to Cliff Lakes. You're quite right, and they held this AGM, and it was when the part that got me was literally he had the accounts in a fag packet or in a notebook, and I was like, okay, this is really not a national governing body.
That was my first experience. You know what? Because I remember Paul Coxledge, Cliff Lakes at the time, had shared the video, and he was going on about it, and he was like, "Oh, this AGM," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, Okra," and I'm like, "What the hell is Okra?" And then I remember seeing it on a T-shirt once or something.
Yeah,
I think one of the Runflex T-shirts might have had an Okra branding on it one day.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, what the hell is this? Let's have a watch of this. And like you say, it was car crash TV. This guy up on stage, literally getting mullered by everybody, got no answers to anything, had he? You know, where's the money? Are they going to pay who was it? Peru won the championship. Was it Tristan Steed or something was owed some money by them?
I think it was when they went under because they'd sold tickets. So for anyone who's listening wants to know the story, they had sold tickets to a British Championships, and within, I think, about less than a month of the British Championships happening, radio silence happened, and the Nords vanished. And the rumor is that they disappeared with all the entry fees. At that point, Nuclear Racers and James Parrish stepped in and honoured everyone's tickets that had been purchased. So out of their own pocket, they honoured everyone's tickets. And let them come and run the championships at Nuclear Racers off their own back. Any tickets sold after that point, I think Nuclear Racers got, but all previous sales didn't. And then, of course, Mark Linster was the guy. Mark was his first name. Mark Linster was the guy who was trying to take it over, but being the guy he was, I don't think he had the backing of everyone. I think the backing had gone by then, and then he had family problems. So people know him. I'm not going to tell people what his family problems were. People who know him will know what happened. God bless him and everything else. But yeah, he sort of vanished a little bit, and then a couple of years later, we had British Obstacle Sports formed. I think about 18 months later, British Obstacle Sports formed, and there was a little bit of like, oh right, okay, is this another case? And I remember getting lots of messages about it.
Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah, very much along those lines and that. But it's proved wrong. It's proved wrong. When did you find out about British Obstacle Sports, Matt? When did you find out about them?
I joined. So it must have been 2022. When did I? Yeah, it must have been 2022. I think I heard about it. Early 2022, late 2021. I can't remember. But
So
I
this
never
was
heard of Opera.
post-COVID then. So it's post-COVID you heard
Yeah,
about them.
post-COVID. Yeah. Again,
Wow.
I'm still very late to the game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very, very late to knowing everything. So everything, a lot of stuff you're saying is very new to me still.
Did you, when you heard about them, you knew a little bit about the history of OCR, but not all of it? Did you instantly join them, or was you skeptical
Yes, I
of
did.
joining? Or
No, I wasn't skeptical at all because I believe in the federations. My go-to sport before OCR was martial arts.
right?
So, and we had federations back then, and I was a member of that as well. So, believed in it all. Didn't have any doubts about joining. Fan of sport I loved. So I had no doubts in joining it whatsoever.
And that's fantastic. And I like that because that tells us that people coming into the sport are confident that British obstacle sports are the right choice. Wendy, you've been there right from the start, as far as I'm aware, because I remember seeing you in your UK shirt and British obstacle sports. You seem to have been involved right from the beginning. Was you, or was it a little bit later?
I think I actually don't remember. It was probably in COVID at some point. It was probably the time trials. I think they were very good. And one thing I will take from what we've been talking today is how positive the future is looking compared to some of the things that actually are quite, worrying about the past. It's having not really been particularly aware of those things in the past, I feel a lot more that where we're going is a lot brighter than perhaps where we've come from.
And I will back that up as well. And I'm going to go into that a little bit as we wrap up shortly. Paul, British Obstacle Sports, were you like me? And I'm going to be honest and say I was very sceptical when they came along. Was you like me?
I was firmly sat next to Ian on the fence.
Right. Which is a good place to sit.
Yeah. Like I say, by the time I heard about governing bodies with the original one with OCRA, I found out about it as it was all going to crap.
Yes.
And I was like, all right, like you say, and it was a case of like, here we go again. Like we're the governing body. I'm like, governing body of what? I was like, I used to look around at OCR and think, there's no real way you can govern this. One race, Spartan race is completely different to say what Reaper was or Overload is, or even what Tough Mudder was.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming a bit Spartanish Tough Mudder from what I gather, especially outside this country. But there was so many different variables. It's like, all right, hey, I know Joe DeSena was big on getting it into the Olympics. I was like, you have to standardise a sport to get it recognised. And I was like, how the hell are they going to go about this? Is it just going to be a case of like, we're going to be the governing body and they're going to bang on about it and do nothing for a few years and just use it as an excuse to run a championship race? The self-appointed governing body, what do they do for the sports? And they say OCRA didn't leave anybody with a good taste.
No.
Whether you knew about it from the start or you heard about everything that went wrong afterwards. So yeah, I was, like you say, sat very firmly next to Ian on the fence while you were giving him the big sell, sat on the fence next to us.
Quite right, I was giving the big sell, but sat on the fence. I'll be honest with you. And I'm going to say I'm pleased the way they've gone. I've seen right from the start from yourself and with that little bit of bad taste. Are you happy where they're going now? Are they going in the right direction? Let's just say, are they going in the right direction without putting you on the spot?
Yes and no. I feel sometimes. I can see the directions they're moving in, especially with, like you say, the elite side, the competitive side. This whole, like the pentathlon, the Olympics thing, to me, that's not what OCR is, or obstacle racing is. Yeah, the ninja side of it. What was it? British Obstacle Sports, or UKOSF as it was originally.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wasn't a very good confidence move either, was it? Changing the name to the federation very early at the start, but they've weathered that. But yeah, so some things I can see, like you say, when you hear James talk about it, particularly, he's very passionate in the direction he wants it to do and why he wants it to be recognised. And he simply talks about the funding, which is ultimately how it helps the smaller guys in OCR or your training centres, etc. If this funding becomes available to some of these training centres, places like the Lions then might have survived or stayed open,
Mhm.
etc. And smaller races, might start to flourish again, because if they have backing of the federation, people like you and me who've been like massively stung at times before will have more confidence in them.
That was
to
going to be
book
my
them.
next question, actually. That was going to say, if a race was licensed, would you be more likely to sign up for it, knowing where we've been through things?
Yeah, and not even necessarily like, if say, I don't know, somebody puts an event on, we all sign up for it. But take, I don't know, say what last big race we lost, kind of like Elements, that last one that kind of went tits up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
took a lot of people's money. And, say people were sitting on the fence and not signing up for that because they knew that there was trouble with it,
yeah.
which instantly is the death knell for a race. You find out a race is in trouble, or race directors start posting weird things on Facebook. You kind of read the signals, don't you? You know, you instantly lose confidence in booking that race.
Yeah.
And I was going to book that race, Elements, and I was sitting very firmly on, is this going to happen? No, if I booked it, I was going to book it absolute last minute.
Yeah.
I was going to pay more for it, but because I had just, I just had a feeling about it, and it did go. It went tits up twice actually in the end, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It's got taken over, and then someone else, and that.
And then someone else. Well, yeah, I think that was. I think there's a lot of. It's not probably not something we should get into there, because that was a bit, from what I
Yeah.
understand, didn't was a bit dodge. But if I knew that, not even so much I'd get a refund off, say, British Obstacle Sports, like something like what happened. You remember when the Suffering went, or like what Nuclear did?
Yeah, yeah,
Spartan stepped in when the Suffering went tits up and said, "Have a beast entry
yeah.
if you
If
want."
that was when the community was very much more of a community, I guess, than where it is. Oh, guess where it was as COVID's hitters. Back then, a race would step in, as we mentioned earlier on. Nuclear stepped in when the British champs went under back in 2018, I think it was.
Mm.
Suffering went under. I think, didn't Spartan just say half price or something like that to everyone who got a ticket?
Um,
Was it a full ticket? I thought
I
it was a sprint free or a
can't
beast
remember.
at
It was a
half
free
price.
sprint or a beast at half price. I can't. Do you know what? I've probably still got the email somewhere.
Yeah.
But
So
I remember, even then, still, it was still, you got something, because what was a last minute beast ticket back then? It was still over £100, 120 quid.
yeah, yeah, very much so.
So
Very
that
much so.
gave people the option to at least get something back
Mm.
for the money. I mean, in one sense, it was a good marketing, because up until that point, I'd only ever done a sprint, a Spartan sprint, and that was because Obstacle Race magazine used to give you like loads of race tickets for a subscription.
Yeah, yeah, they did. I remember that. You had
So
tickets about 5 races, didn't you?
oh yeah, I think one year I had 3 or 4 subscriptions going.
Mm. To get the free
But I think
races.
yeah, it worked out. I think I did a Spartan trifecta on buying 3 subscriptions, because they did the half year subscription as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
So
Hold that thought a
yeah,
second, because I'm I'm going to come up with something in a minute. I'm going to ask Wendy in a second, but first of all, I'm going to just go to Matt first. Matt, being new to the sport and supporting British obstacle sports, would you sign up to a race that British obstacle sports had not endorsed in a way?
Yeah, because I'm still looking for that OCR fix.
Right.
At the moment, I haven't found one because I work shift work. But yes, I would.
Okay. Okay.
Because I say I'm still looking for the fun element still.
Yeah, and I get that.
No,
And
yeah.
I still sign up to them. I'm going to say I still sign up to races that are not owned by a governing body. But the question was, for me, I wasn't sure whether you would or not, being new to the sport. Going back a second, Wendy, I'm going to go back to what Paul mentioned there about Obstacle Race magazine used to do. You signed up to their thing and you got free tickets to certain races. Could British Obstacle Sports, and maybe I'm putting your, maybe it shouldn't be your question, but I'm just thinking from your point of view, what do you think British Obstacle Sports could do maybe to come up with a season ticket or something like that? Do you think that could be something in the pipeline in the future?
Ooh.
I do not know on that one. Sorry.
And I'm not trying to put a good. Would it be a good idea though, from you, from being the chair of the community? Could that be something that could get people back together? I think.
So it depends on which way. Yeah, you have put me on the spot here. I can see the point of having a series race pass in the same way that some of the named races have a race pass for the season, which would cover quite a lot of races, and that would be quite a good thing to do. If it was that the price, you could miss one or two and it was still a good thing to do. Some of the series, if you miss one, it's still, certainly with the training I do, if I miss one, it still works out as the same price. So that's with PT Barn, it's worked out. So it's worth signing up for the series, and that might encourage people to go to more, like with the UKOCR series. If there was a ticket that did all of them, that might encourage people to attend to more of them. But I think you're looking more at the smaller races, aren't you?
I was thinking of anything. Did you mention the UKOCR series? Then I think something like that would be a great idea for it. I think having 8 races, I'm not convinced you would potentially get 8 races to it, but maybe the endurance series, which only has 4 races in it, I could see all 4 of them races coming up with a price and saying, yeah, for all of these 4 races, it would be X amount of pounds. You know,
I think it would be work, because the advantage of that. So, for instance, the nuclear races that used to have a season pass that was considerably discounted for the very first people, I would be sitting on my phone at the moment that they were released, and I did always get them at the minimum price, and that made a huge difference. That financially being able to get a season pass, and then that means you do go to the races because you've got a ticket. So obviously you're going to go to them all. I think there is definitely a benefit in doing it. The logistics of doing it when it's different race directors, different races, is more tricky.
It's difficult trying to get them all together to just give us a date for the series and get them to just pay for their money as well. What season passes have you bought then, Wendy? Have you had a nuclear season pass in the?
Yes, nuclear. Nuclear is the one that when they don't do them anymore for competitive race, but they used to. So what I used to do was get a season pass and then upgrade it for each race, then pay the difference to have it made into a competitive one. And that's the only one I've done.
Yeah, I get that. Matt, have you ever bought a season pass?
I would absolutely love to, but I have to plan sort of every few months ahead. I can't plan my year out because of shift patterns, and I can't book holidays because other people got holidays booked off. So I would absolutely love to take advantage of the cheaper price. Yes. I even tempted to buy a Tough Mudder season ticket for this year, and I'm glad I didn't, because I probably wouldn't be able to use it. I'm probably going to get to about 2 Tough Mudders this year.
Oh, wow.
So I would have lost out. So unfortunately, I have to plan every few months ahead, which is, it's a shame because there's so many on the calendar I could do.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I want to do, but I just can't commit. So I have, I have to see how each month goes.
Yeah.
Prioritize what holiday I use for what events as well, and other personal stuff is going on in my life other than OCR.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's always difficult juggling family life and running and things like that.
It's a shame because a few years ago I wasn't in this position at all. Now, like, things have changed at home, etc., etc. I've got all the time in the world to do it, the money to do it. I just can't do it as much as I wanted to now. So it's a bit frustrating, but I get in where I can.
Yeah. Paul, what season passes have you got?
Do you know what? I've never bought a season pass.
Never.
I
I thought you would have. I thought you would have been right on there.
I know, yeah. I'm not a Yorkshireman, so.
Nor am I, but it's certainly helps to get to more races when money's
I'll
tight.
Be honest, I am just literally not that organised. I almost once bought a Spartan season pass, and then when I went to check out, I saw the ridiculous booking fee they were trying to add onto it. It was like £75 booking fee, and I was just out of principle. Then I refused to pay for it.
Yeah, I get that.
So I was just,
I once going to purchase a Spartan one once, and exactly the same. It was the booking fee was another race, and I think back then I think it was about 48-49 pound when I went to buy one, and I thought, hang a minute here, I can actually do 2 local races. This is when races used to be 25 pound. I thought I could do 2 local races for that price, and I just thought, no, I'm not purchasing one.
yeah, that was literally. Well, it's one of the things in life that when people hide fees like that in there, just put it into the ticket price. Same as car parking and that, which they've snidely added back in. Just put it in the ticket price. Work it out into the ticket price.
Exactly.
It always sounds less painful.
Less painful. And on that note, I'm going to turn around and say thank you for joining me, guys. We're going to run out of time. We've got loads of notes, and we covered one topic, and we had about 5 to go. So I'm going to say we're going to come back again in a couple of weeks' time. Listeners, if any of you want to join us, reach out. I'm sure we'd love to have your stories. But guys, thank you for joining me. I will let you all say goodbye. Wendy.
Goodbye from me.
Matt.
Goodbye, everyone.
And Paul, the Cakeathon winner.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Trying to protect your soul. We are